Hello everyone, welcome to the international channel of 1000 PS. I'm on vacation right now, I'm in California. Actually, I'm in Huntington Beach right now where I lived for 2 years. And I just picked up the Harley-Davidson Nightster that I will be riding for 10 days now. I'm going to be doing a lot of riding, and in the end of my trip, before I give it back, I will give you my opinion on how it rides, also for a longer period of time, and also give you some tips, some advices for roads to ride here. So stay tuned. Alright, it's almost time to bring back this Harley-Davidson Nightster. It has been an amazing week with it, I have to say. I had so much fun riding it. When I first got on it, I felt super comfortable on it. There was it was super uncomplicated. The handling is really easy. And let's just start with the engine, because the engine is a brand new one. Actually, there's still the Revolution Max in the new Sportster S and in the Pan America, but there it has 1050cc, and here we have 975cc. So it's the lowest displacement current Harley-Davidson that's out there on the market right now. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the engine a lot, even though it doesn't have that crazy punch that we know from some other Harleys, but it's still, especially from 3,500 to 4,000 RPM, then it really has all that punch that you really want. And from down below, it's, it takes a little and then it pushes you. And I don't know, I love that feeling. We still have a V-twin, which I love. It's 60 degrees. The engine sits down very low, so it makes the center of gravity quite low. We have the tank under the seat. So this here is the airbox, not the tank. So just be aware of that. So when you open this, this you can do with the key. By the way, it's keyless ignition. So you just have to have this in your pocket. When you get closer to the bike, you can start it. But for opening the seat, you need this physical key, and then you just open this. Okay, sorry. And then you just fill up the gas. By the way, here's also the tools for adjusting the preload of the rear spring, but I'll get back to that later. Yeah, and then, so as I said, center of gravity very low, handling very, very easy, and it comes standard with 3 different riding modes. We have a rain mode, a sport mode, and a road mode. And when I first hopped on it and I was riding the first day, I was all in road mode. And I kind of yeah, this is a nice engine, it's powerful, but it didn't give me big emotions. But when I turned it in the sport mode the day after, I'm like, wow, this is really fun. You can really ride it fast and sporty around the corners. And yeah, so for me, my favorite mode is the sport mode, especially when you have this aggressive position on the bike. But of course, if you want to take it more easy or for everyday life, then probably the road mode is your better option. And then when it rains, for example, or you're not a very experienced rider, you can take the rain mode, which limits the power to I think 15% less power. And but for me, I felt like the engine, it was too weak, I think, the rain mode, so I prefer actually the road mode, but especially the sport mode. And as a modern Harley, it also has traction control, which I really like. You can disengage it with a long press on this button, but you also have ABS, of course, and also a slipper clutch. And let's get to the sitting position. So we have a seat height of 705 millimeters, so it's very low to the ground. I can easily reach the ground. I'm 1 meter and 69 centimeters, or 5'6", and I like the position of the footrests, which are in the middle here. My knee angle is very, something between sporty and super relaxed, so it's not in the front. I personally don't love it to be in the front, but of course, as accessory, you can get these. I clicked through the catalog and you could get so many things. I think 67 accessory parts you can get for it to really customize this bike. And then you're stretched quite forward to the handlebars. So if you have very short arms, then you could get an accessory handlebar that comes closer to you. But I really like that position because it's it's relaxed, but it's also aggressive, and I really enjoyed that, and makes steering so easy because it's quite wide. Also, especially in corners, we have quite slim tires, so we have 190 19 in the front and 150 80 16 in the rear. So steering is very, very easygoing, and even in very twisty roads was never a problem to turn it in, combined with the wide handlebars. As I said, you can ride it really sporty, and yeah, so it really has a good Sportster soul, I would say. So you can ride it relaxed, but also sporty, which I really like. And I must say, I'm very impressed by the long distance comfort of this bike. I did like 4 or 5 hours in one ride in the saddle, just a little gas stop in between, and it was so comfortable, like nothing hurt. And I had it before with cruisers, when you sit like with the butt to the back, then it started hurting after some time, but with this it really didn't. So this made me really happy, because I was concerned first if I should really ride these long distances, but as I said, very, very comfortable seat, and no issues with that. Also, the engine has almost no mentionable vibrations anymore. So some of you might say, oh, I like the vibrations, but I actually, especially on long distances, I really enjoy that it just didn't vibrate much, and also it doesn't develop a lot of heat, the engine. So even like in this California weather, it's super warm, and I was stuck in traffic, no issues here, because with some other bikes I like burned my legs and I really didn't like it, but that's very great here. But I mean, when you maneuver the bike around and you have ridden it before, just be aware, don't touch the exhaust pipe, because that gets really hot, and I touched it once and I really burned my leg, so just be careful at that part. The tank, as I said, is under the seat. We have 11.7 liters that fit in there, so it's not a lot, but I tried it out and I really squeezed it. So I got 135 miles out of it. I think this is around 215 kilometers. So actually it's not too bad. So the fuel consumption, Harley says it's around 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers, but I think mine was even a little lower, even though I wasn't riding super slow. I was actually sometimes riding quite fast on that thing, which I really enjoyed, that you really can ride it fast. Also the footrests, they don't scratch that fast. Of course, you can scratch them, but I really like on this bike that you can get around it, because I'm a person, I really don't like when the footrests scratch. So when I'm on a cruiser bike, I just adapt to it, and I just take the corners differently and don't like push it down, because then you scratch, and I don't know, I get scared easily then. What have I not mentioned? The brakes are really good. Surprisingly, because I had cruisers where the brakes really didn't work well, where the pressure point wasn't great, but they were super okay. So it always stopped me in time. We have a Brembo brake in the front with 320 millimeter disc. In the rear we have a 260 millimeter disc. And yeah, it always stopped me in time, and believe me, there were situations where I really had to stop abruptly, especially when like lane splitting. And that's a part I didn't like so much, because these rear view mirrors are very wide out, so it makes the whole vehicle wider. So when lane splitting in California, it's legal, by the way. It just sometimes gave me trouble to lane split, but as I said, there's many accessories you can get, and there's other solutions, so it doesn't add up on the side so much, so I would probably use that. But the visibility on these rear view mirrors is really good. Speaking of visibility, what I also really like, so of course we all have LED lights here on this bike, and the headlight gives you such good visibility at night. The Nightster gives you good visibility at the night, makes sense. So I really were at places where it got super dark when I was riding through the desert, and I could see very well, so thumbs up on that. It's a very wide angle light. For the suspension, we have a 41 millimeter telescopic fork by Showa in the front, with I think 114 millimeter. I'll check out these Harleys, film them. All right, so for suspension, we have a 41 millimeter telescopic fork by Showa in the front, and 2 outer springs with, I think, 76 millimeters of suspension travel in the rear, which is not a lot. So especially when you go over bigger bumps, you feel it in your back, and especially sometimes it even lifts you out of the saddle. We know that from cruisers, especially from Sportsters, they don't have a lot of suspension travel in the rear. But I was impressed with the fork because it stayed really stable, especially in turns. It made you really ride precisely and gives you a good feedback. So I think the fork is done really, really well, and it kept the front stable even if you were going over bumps. All right, what have I not mentioned yet? So the bike is available in 3 different color options. So this here is the gunmetal gray. There's also a red line red, and there's a vivid black. And this gray and the red, I think, cost like $280 extra. And yeah, let's get to the price, which is of course not cheap. We have a price of 15,000, I think, in Germany, around almost 18,000 in Austria. Of course, you have to check in which country you are, how much it is there. But yeah, I really loved it. I loved riding it. I had a lot of fun on it. You can ride it sporty, you can ride it in a relaxed way. It's not intimidating. The engine is strong and powerful, but it's not, you know, as I said, not intimidating. And it's you can ride it sporty, but also if you're not such an experienced rider, you can also take it easy on that, or just adjust to the conditions that you're riding in. And I also love the look of it. So if you're a diehard Harley fan, you might now say, oh, shut up, it's not a real Sportster anymore. But you know, everyone's taste is different, and I really like their approach of having, I think it's authentic Sportster, but you know, just a little bit more modern. And I do appreciate the features that they put in, that it has traction control, that it has ABS, that it has a slipper clutch. So, and even the riding modes. So I do think, especially if you ride it more often, you will appreciate these features and this better suspension and the more comfort that you get on this newer bike opposed to like an older Harley. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, I forgot to mention my favorite roads to ride here in California, because I lived here for 2 years. So Malibu riding is always awesome. I would recommend to go on a weekday because there's less traffic. On the weekends it can get quite busy, especially also with sports cars and motorcycles sometimes don't match so well on the roads, I would say. But also Palomar Mountain, amazing. I went there this time twice, and it's just always spectacular, beautiful views. If you go there in winter, just be aware there might be snow on top and it can get very chilly. But the views are, as I said, very spectacular. It's closer to San Diego. And then here in LA area, I would also recommend Angeles Crest. It's awesome to also ride fast. I see a lot of sports bikes there. I was there on sports bikes and naked bikes. It's basically like a racetrack through the mountain. Also very nice is Glendora Mountain Road, and I would say Idlewild Road if you go more inland towards Palm Springs. There's many more roads, but these are like my recommendations for you now if you ever come here and go ride here. You can also leave a comment, of course, if you have other suggestions for the viewers of 1000 PS. So for now, I'm gonna probably start heading back soon, because it is mid of November, or end of November basically. So sun is setting at around 4:45 already. So yeah, days are shorter, but still beautiful weather outside, and it was just a blast riding here in California again, and had a great time here. So take care, always ride safe, and see you at the next video. Bye bye.